and I want to talk about that in a moment. But let's start with the news of the day, the confirmation process. Judge Brett Kavanaugh here. Dr. Ford has said now that she wants to testify, as you know, Mr. Vice President, but now the battle seems to be over how versus when. She wants to make sure that she's protected. She wants to make sure that she's treated fairly. How would you suggest that the Senate handle these allegations?
I think they should do an FBI investigation. We did that for Anita Hill. It took 2 days, number one. And number two, most importantly, Anita Hill was vilified when she came forward by a lot of my colleagues, character assassination. I wish I could have done more to prevent those questions the way they asked them. I hope my colleagues learned from that. She deserves to be treated with dignity. It takes enormous courage for a woman to come forward and the bright lights of millions of people watching and relive something that happened to her, assert that something happened to her. And she should be treated with respect.
You brought up Anita Hill. You were chairman of the Judiciary Committee back in 1991. You were roundly criticized for not doing more during that hearing. Looking back on that, specifically, how would you advise senators to proceed next week? And how do you balance the rights of a woman who's making accusations like this versus the presumption that a person is innocent until proven guilty?
Well, I think the presumption should exist, but what should happen is the woman should be given the benefit of the doubt and not be abused again by the system. My biggest regret was I didn't know how I could shut you off if you were a senator and you were attacking Anita Hill's character. Under the Senate rules, I can't gavel you down and say you can't ask that question, although I tried. And so what happened was she got victimized again during the process. And I believed her when she came forward. I encouraged her to come forward. We were in a position where we got the FBI to do an investigation. And I voted against Clarence Thomas. He only got 7 votes. He got 7 yes and 7 no's. It was a tie vote in the committee. But I hope that they understand what courage it takes for someone to come forward and relive what they believe happened to them and let them state it, but treat her with respect. Ask tough questions. Ask substantive questions. Where were you? What said? Who said what, etc. But don't go after not the character assassination. Well,
it seems like you get it now versus back in 91.
Well, I think I got it in 91. I don't think it, well, people have their own opinion. That's why I wrote the Violence Against Women Act. I wrote the Violence Against Women Act. The second, and during this period. And the second reason, I insisted the next time out, 2 women come on the committee. 2 women. They didn't want to come on the committee. So I campaigned for Carol Moseley Brown on the condition that if she won, she'd come on the committee. It's important. It's important that people understand, and I think people do now, understand how hard it is to come forward. And I always say to men, they say, why is it so hard? How about if you've been abused? You see the movie Deliverance? How about if you were the guy strapped to the tree? Would you come forward? Would you want to relive that? I'm serious. I'm deadly earnest.
Really quickly before I let both of you get out of here, and before we go back to the studio, I want to go back to something that you said at the beginning about the investigation. If there is no FBI investigation, should the Senate proceed as usual, and should there be a vote if she doesn't testify?
Look, I don't think there should be. I just think, what the devil have we learned here? What have we learned? I mean, so much has changed since I wrote the Violence Against Women Act. So much has changed about how the public understands the pressure on women. And I've learned a lot as well, too. And, you know, it's just, she should not have to go through what Anita Hill went through and some of the questions that she got asked and the way the right went after her on national television and questioned her integrity and questioned her, not just her honesty, questioned her behavior. I mean, that's just not appropriate. You shouldn't have to be twice put through the same exact thing.
Mr. Vice President, thank you. Dr. Biden, thank
you. It took her a lot of courage for her to come forward.
You said in the past that you would apologize to her. If she were watching right now, what would you say to her?
I'm sorry I couldn't have stopped the kind of attacks that came to you. But I never attacked her. I supported her. I believed her from the beginning. And I voted against Clarence Thomas.
Thank you.
Thanks.
When we come back down next time, I want to do the story on the fact that you guys have been married for more than 40 years, and you put up with him the way that you do. If people only
It's
knew.
true.
If people only knew, Dr. Biden. We'll come back down and do that story next time.